Today we got a special machine here. This is a rootpruner. It's not just a rootpruner, it's a very decent rootpruner. But the best thing of all is it has ISObus. That means that I can hook this rootpruner up to my tractor, which already has ISObus for the tunnel sprayer, and we can use this rootpruner to rootprune on GPS. The reason that I want to do that is because we got Ulster trees which have a lot of growth, and we also have trees which don't have a lot of growth. Now, I really don't want to cut the trees which are not growing fast. I only want to prune the trees in the ground which are growing too fast. That way we get these trees in balance, and hopefully next year the crop they produce will be more homogeneous over the orchard. So at this moment we have trees with a high productivity and with a low productivity. I already did a blossom thinning this year on application maps, and that gave us an enormous boost in productivity, and it also balanced out the orchard a lot. Yet what we see is that trees which have not produced the maximum this year are growing too fast, which means we got a lot of pruning work on there, and they just got way too much leaves. And not only do they grow too much above the ground, but also too much under the ground. So they got way too much roots. And that's giving an imbalance, which is causing the tree to grow even further for the upcoming years. We don't want that. We want to give this tree a little break, so it's going to produce more apples, because it will think it's going to die, because we cut off a little bit of the roots. And since apples are the babies of the apple tree, it's going to produce a lot of babies because it thinks it's going to die. That's how that works. So we trick the tree a little bit, and we only want to do that with these heavy growing trees. If we do it with a weak tree, the weak tree cannot produce the maximum amount of apples anymore. So for that, I got a little video shot right here where I take some drone images and we're going to process these. So let's take a look at what I did this summer. Alright, so while it's time to harvest, it's also time to collect data, because these trees, we got them already pretty good in balance now. But you can see some trees, they have too much growth or too less growth, but not every tree is doing the same. And we think it's good to root cut them, but not every tree should be root cutted. As we can see, some trees which are damaged, we don't want to root cut these. So we're making a vigor map at this moment. So I got the drone in the air. It's flying right up there at this moment. So it's autonomously doing a map. So let's see if you can see that actually or not. You can see it. So it's flying over that map and gathering data of the field. So it takes pictures in two directions. And with the data, a vigor map can be made to tell how much vigor every tree has, and the vigor amount depends on if we root cut the tree or not. So having this map is really important for us, as it allows us to choose for every tree separately to root cut it or not root cut it. And that's something that's definitely going to pay off in the long term. So we are working on this and getting it done for this field. I think we're also going to do it for the pears and for the front field. I think it's very valuable to do this kind of stuff, as it's really saving down on pruning cost and also the thinning cost, the chemicals, the production is going up. So all these things are more in balance. More in balance means that we have less overspill of any of these. And it's all about labor these days for us, so we want to save labor anywhere we can. So if technology helps us with doing so, then we use technology to do so. Well, right up there it's flying. I don't know if you can see it, but it's flying there. My dad is not so fond of precision farming as I am, so it means I made a deal with Munckhof to borrow this machine in trade of making this video and also some video material for Munckhof, which seems a good deal to me, as I really like the fact that we can run this one on the ISObus and run it with our own equipment completely on GPS, because basically I know everything about how to do it and we are doing it, and it seems to produce very well. I hope you're gonna learn something about this video, because there's a lot that you can learn from this one, as it's very interesting about what we're gonna do, because it's making a lot of common sense what we are gonna do here. We're also gonna prune a field on clay ground and a field on sand ground. And on sand ground we don't want to prune too much, because these trees get a lot less water, so they will grow a lot weaker, so we should prune them differently. Kijk wat dit van waarde heeft. Volgende. Deze? Ja. Ook een 6.
Hey, deze is 2000 meter.
Deze?
Nee, nee.
Deze. Of niet?
Ja?
Dat is een 7.
Ja.
Dit is een spier. Je wordt 9 snijden.
Ja, en deze?
Dit is een 4.
Ja, dat is 4 moet ik niet.
Dit is machine, je bent een 2 of zo.
Dit is van de gouden.
3. Alright, so I just calibrated everything in the field together with my dad. That means that we now got values for the map that we made. So I'm gonna process that on the computer, because we made some conclusions in the field of how we want to root prune the field. Now I need to process it, so the maps are gonna do what we want them to do. So what we decided is, for the first field of Elster, that we want to root prune all the trees that have a vigor value of 5, 6 and 7. And that's the higher vigor values, as it goes until a maximum of 7 in the scaling it does. That value says nothing to you, but it does say something to me at this moment, because we just calibrated it by looking in the field at what do we think about a tree of level 3, of level 4, level 5, 6 and 7, and then we just decided, well, 5 is about the tipping point where we want to root prune, and the 4 we don't want to root prune. So that's how we determined it, and that's how we came to a value which we actually know. In the other field of Elster, we also concluded that we want to root prune the number 4. Reason for that is that the drone images are different, so they will be judged a little bit different for every time you fly with it. So we need to calibrate it for each field. So on the second field we are gonna root prune figure level 4, 5, 6 and 7. And that sounds like it's more, but it's actually way more, because a level 4 is about the same as a level 5 on the front field. And the thing is, we don't have a lot of trees under 4 on the second field. It's only a few trees and the Golden Delicious. So that's how that's gonna work. Now let's process that on the computer. I'm now on the portal of Aurea Imaging, and we're gonna take a look at field number 7, which is this field. And I made a blossom map of this field in August. So we can take a look at it and we can see that we have high growth in the middle here and some low growth on the side. Well, these are actually Datamaps, so we cannot really compare them. And we need to root prune them all. So we are just going to root prune the Datamaps. But we can see that there is some weaker trees in this area. And that's because we had some water damage in the past around this area. Also here. As you can see, this is also a weaker region. So we are gonna root prune the trees above 4. So that means 5, 6 and 7. And that's a lot of the trees in this field. But some are not. As you can see, these here are a 4. This one is a 4. These are a 4. And here there is some 4s and even lower ones. Yet these lower ones have to be done because they are just younger trees. And they need to be root pruned because they are growing too fast. So these will be full root pruned because I cannot judge them and they have to be root pruned all. But for the Ulster, it's nice that we exclude the trees that are growing too weak. And as you can see, that's maybe 15%. We can take a look at, let's see, make an application map of it. Now I'm gonna tell it, yeah, it's a Müller. I'm gonna tell it it's a sprayer because the root pruner got an update and now I need to tell it it's a sprayer for what I want to do with it. And then we're gonna say 5, 6 and 7. So that's gonna be these trees of the field. And that's looking really good. Now if we would have root pruned the whole field, then we would have done 100%. Now we go from 5 and that means that we do 59% of the field. So we are saving 40%, but that's not completely true as we are gonna root prune this side of the field completely and here the pear trees as well. But still, I think we don't root prune about 15 to 20%. As you can see, these gaps here, that's where we are not gonna root prune because these trees are too weak. And that's making a lot of sense to me as a tree that produces more apples as it is gonna do otherwise in the upcoming years. That's really gonna pay back because we are talking about tens of kilos every season. And that means that we get a lot of extra yield of these trees. So we can download the map, download, and now we got this in the zip. Alright, let's go back. Now we got field number 10, which is this one. I also made a bigger map of this one. And on this one, we decided that the growth, that the bigger maps of 4 also are gonna be root pruned. So if you can see, when we watch over this field, we have a lot of 6s and 7s here, but we also have some 5s. And here we have a lot of 3s and 4s. And the 3s are probably the Golden Delicious. But here there is also some Ulster trees with a number 3. I can recognize these are Golden Delicious because they stand in a line. And these are also because every 5th line has a Golden Delicious every other tree. And the other one is an Ulster. Now these are our youngest Ulster. So you can see they all got judged a 1. Well, that's perfect because they are just planted last winter, I think. So yeah, they have not gotten a lot of vigor. And these are of Zari and they are hard to judge. So we're not gonna look at them because they just need to be root pruned all. These trees are 25 years old. Some sicknesses in between. So that's what it is. I'm not gonna calibrate it on that. And they need to be root pruned all. It's clay soil here, so it doesn't hurt too much to root prune a little bit more. Yet it's good to exclude the weak trees which we got here. And also the Golden Delicious. So that's looking good. Let's make a map of that one as well. Alright, so I got my maps saved here. And now we are gonna drag the files in the way we need to use them onto the USB stick. So that's gonna be these, they go on the USB stick, and we also got field number 7, which I exported. So that's gonna be these files. Now they are on the USB stick on a folder named SHP in capital, and that's because our terminal that we use only reads it from that folder. So we have to put everything in there like we just did. So these are the files that were included inside the zip. I got them in my folder where I keep all my data. And yeah, now they are on the stick. Alright, so that's the office work we had to do. Now we can head into the field again and we can start doing the root pruning job. As you can see, there's a lot of work involved before we can do the actual job. But I hope by only doing the trees that we actually want to root prune, that we are gonna save a lot of pruning work, as we can just spend this time in just doing the work like we always did, or I can spend the time in doing something that we haven't tried before, but in common sense this is gonna work. So we are gonna try it. Hopefully we get less growth, and this could save us weeks of pruning in the upcoming years if we do this right. So spending these few hours on forehand seems a logical step for me, and that's even for a farm which is this small as ours. Alright, so yesterday evening we connected the rootpruner to the tractor, and as you can see it's quite a big machine. It's really heavy, but it needs its weight to get that knife into the ground. I also figured out that we have a lot of oil capacity with this tractor, but it's not enough to let this knife go as fast as it can go. And this tractor is 12 years old, so yeah, I can expect that it doesn't fully run this at its maximum capacity. It just means we need to drive a little bit slower if we have high alternation during the root pruning. But if we don't have high alternation, we can gear up, of course. So let's head into the field and get this one going. We got the GPS receiver on the roof, so we're ready for that. Now we need to load in the map, so I'm gonna make a new one. So we say it's gonna be field number 7. I'm gonna download the map in. This should be the one. It looks like it. Let's download it in. And of course my terminal is in Dutch, so you cannot read it probably. But it's now saying it's importing it. Once it's imported, we should be ready to root prune. So let's head over into the field. Alright, looks like we are ready. So we're gonna hit play. That's gonna load the map into the GPS application. We have our RTK fix, so our GPS is doing its job. And we should be arriving in the field in a few minutes, and then we should be seeing the field there. Now, it is really wet in this field, so at this moment it's freezing. It has been freezing since yesterday afternoon, and it's about -2 degrees at this moment. So we need to hurry to get the wettest side of the field done, as I can feel it's still solid right now. So we should be able to root prune these wettest rows, and hopefully we have that done before it starts to thaw, because I really want to do it over the ice, otherwise we get such a mud here. And then the rest of the Ulster, this is also still wet, but a little bit less wet. So let's get started. Root pruning at this moment, completely on GPS. So we can see the tractor running down here. And there's not a lot of trees that don't have to be root pruned at this moment. But once there comes one, then a red square will show up in front of the tractor and it will lift up. So now it's gonna lift up, and it's not gonna root prune that tree. So these are also weaker trees, as you can see, because this is the region where we got water damage. Once we see something that needs to be hit again, it's gonna go into the ground. Now we're out of the ground again.
fruit than you. raise the glitter without raising thief bus, and without allowing biff bus, and without allowing coast bus. Biff bus, bigger than glitter and bigger than coast bus. Next year cut the edges, quarter of the tree. Root pruning costs you 1 year of fruit, or so it seems, but probably less, probably more. And isn't that pruning anyway? An imaginary intellectual forest. Leaves dark and lush, vegetative green, nourished and flush at the expense of fruiting. Trees to balance growth. Whole tree overcrowded, hang and lay low. Cultivate politics that